Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something really core to hip-hop. Authenticity. Street cred.
Yeah, it's like the currency of the genre, right?
Exactly. And the stakes are incredibly high. Some artists, their credibility is built on hard, verifiable stuff like legal records.
The real deal.
But for others, it can be, well, a performance, a story they create.
And that brings us to our subject today, Leonard Grant, better known as Uncle Murda. He's kind of a fascinating case because he seems to have played both sides.
He really did. Managed to work with huge names, Jay-Z, 50 Cent, even Mariah Carey.
Right, all while juggling this public image that was built on genuine criminal justice involvement, but also, well, narratives he later admitted weren't true.
And we're not just going off hearsay here. We've dug into some serious research for this, a detailed college report.
Yeah, it leans heavily on actual court records like People v. Grant from 2012, plus industry archives, biographical info, verified stuff.
So our mission today is to sort of unpack how Uncle Murda walked this tightrope between street credibility and commercial success.
And maybe what his story tells us about, authenticity itself and how these urban narratives get packaged and sold in hip-hop.
Okay, so to really get Uncle Murda, you have to understand his background first, right? Where he came from.
Absolutely essential. He was born June 23, 1978, grew up in East New York, Brooklyn.
And that area, back in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, it was tough.
Yeah.
I mean, really tough. Deep systemic disinvestment, high poverty, and this was during the peak of the crack epidemic.
So constant police presence, violence.
Exactly. That kind of environment, it doesn't just give you things to rap about. It fundamentally shapes how you see the world. Survival, resistance. That became the core of his artistic voice.
So he starts out not with a big splashy deal, but more underground.
Yeah, mid-2000s, building his name through mixtapes, the classic way.
What made him stand out then? Lots of people were doing mixtapes.
It was the rawness, I think, and how specific he was. His stories felt incredibly real because they often were tied to verifiable things happening in East New York.
Not just generic street talk.
No. He'd detail, specific types of violence, drug deals, run-ins with the cops, that hyper-local, uncompromising honesty. That's what built his initial genuine reputation on the streets.
And then came 2006, an incident that wasn't just lyrics anymore.
Right. This is where the documented reality really anchors his credibility. May 10th, 2006, Brooklyn. Court records show Grant and an accomplice tried a robbery.
Okay.
But it went sideways. An off-duty NYPD officer stepped in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a firefight started. The officer got hit, injured.
So this wasn't just some minor scuffle. These are serious charges.
Extremely serious. We're talking attempted murder in the second degree, specifically for targeting the officer, and attempted robbery in the first degree. Major felonies.
And he was convicted.
He was. The conviction stood even after an appeal in 2012 confirmed it, though they had to resentence him on a technicality. But the core point is the legal finding of guilt for trying to kill a cop, that's documented fact.
This is the part that just blows my mind about the industry sometimes. A conviction like that. Attempted murder of a police officer. Usually that's game over.
Career ending for almost anyone else, yeah.
But for Uncle Murda, it actually boosted him, made him more credible.
Paradoxically, yes. It became this undeniable proof of the life he rapped about. It wasn't just talk. He'd actually faced down the system in the most high-stakes way imaginable.
So the industry sees this, and instead of backing away,
they leaned in, because in that specific market, that verifiable conflict, especially with law enforcement, was like the ultimate stamp of authenticity. It set him apart.
Which explains the timing of his first big signing.
Exactly. 2007, just a year after the conviction, Jay-Z signs him to Roc-A-Fella Records.
The legendary Roc-A-Fella. That's a huge validation.
Massive. Roc-A-Fella was known for artists with serious street bona fides. Now, his time there wasn't a huge commercial breakthrough.
Right. Things were shifting musically then.
Yeah, the whole East Coast sound was kind of losing ground to the South. So album success was limited. But just getting that deal proved he could attract the biggest players.
But he didn't just disappear after Roc-A-Fella. He found other ways to stay in the conversation.
He was smart about it, mastered the art of the strategic feature. Collaborations became his lifeline for relevance.
Like with French Montana.
Yeah, back in 2007, he hopped on French Montana's first mixtape, French Revolution Vol. 1. Looking back, that was savvy.
Let's go!
French wasn't huge yet, but Grant got in on the ground floor. By being there early, he banked what you might call cultural capital, tied his name to a future star.
Smart move. And then that Mariah Carey track, That felt like it came out of nowhere.
The Warning remix in 2011, yeah, that was something else. You had Uncle Murda, 50 Cent, Young Jeezy, and Mariah Carey.
The juxtaposition is wild. The guy known for the cop shooting case on a track with a global pop icon.
Right, but it worked. It gave him this huge mainstream look, a crossover moment. Showed he could still pull in absolute A-listers, keep his name buzzing, even without hit solo records.
And his ability to stay relevant kept paying off, didn't it? Led to another significant deal later on.
Yep, almost a decade after Roc-A-Fella. In 2016, he signs with 50 Cent's G-Unit Records.
Which makes sense thematically.
Totally. G-Unit always cultivated that gritty, street-certified image. Signing with 50 was like a reaffirmation that Uncle Murda's brand of authenticity was still highly marketable.
Okay, so we've got the established legal reality, the 2006 conviction, undeniable. But then 2008 happens, and things get murky. He survives being shot.
Yeah, this is where the story takes a sharp turn, and that line between fact and, well, narrative construction gets really blurry.
The shooting itself was real, though.
Oh, absolutely. January 22, 2008. He was in a car on Linden Boulevard, shot in the head. Bullet grazed his skull. It was a genuinely traumatic, near-fatal event.
And the story around it grew.
Part of the legend became that he checked himself out of the hospital really quick, maybe even with the bullet fragments still in there, added to the whole indestructible image.
But it was his explanation for the shooting that caused the real stir.
Right. Immediately after it happened, he went public claiming NYPD officers shot him.
Whoa. Directly accusing the police.
Yeah. He framed it as retaliation for the 2006 conviction, a massive claim police trying to execute him.
And what did the investigation find? Was there any proof?
The NYPD flat out denied it. And critically, no evidence ever surfaced to back up his story. Nothing official.
Did he cooperate with the investigation?
Reports say he refused to fully cooperate, didn't provide details that could potentially verify his claims against the officers. So you had this powerful narrative, but zero evidence.
But that narrative police vendetta, it stuck, didn't it? It probably helped his image.
Oh, definitely. It painted him as this figure fighting the system, a target because he was too real. It fit perfectly, and then years later,
he admitted it wasn't true.
Yeah. It was pretty shocking. In the early 2020s, I think it was a 2023 interview, he just came out and said it. Admitted the whole story about the NYPD shooting him was fabricated. Made up.
Made up? Why?
He was explicit about it, said he did it purely for purposes of publicity and enhanced street credibility.
Wait, so he took a real life-threatening trauma, getting shot in the head, and layered a completely false story about police involvement on top of it, just for clout.
That's what he admitted to, yeah. It's a lot to process. He understood the market.
What do you mean?
Well, surviving a shooting is one thing, but surviving a shooting by the police because you're seen as a threat to the system, that's a much more powerful narrative in certain circles. He manufactured the element that would give the real trauma maximum commercial impact.
It raises huge questions, doesn't it, about authenticity? If your whole brand is built on keeping it real, on lived experience.
And then you admit you lied about who tried to kill you, the most critical detail for fame. It definitely complicates things.
Does it invalidate the real trauma he suffered? Or does it just expose how the industry itself incentivizes these kinds of narratives?
I think it's more the latter. It shows the pressure cooker artists are in. He clearly recognized that the story around the trauma was potentially more valuable than the trauma itself. His lie wasn't about denying the pain, but about framing it strategically.
So, looking at his career as a whole, you have this stark contrast.
Absolutely. On one hand, the 2006 conviction, irrefutable, court documents, guilty verdict, verified violent engagement, that's real.
And on the other hand,
the 2008 shooting claims. A real event, yes, but the narrative around who did it. Admitted fabrication, deliberate exaggeration for commercial gain.
It's crucial, though, to put this back into the context you mentioned earlier, East New York.
Yes. We can't forget the backdrop. The systemic issues, poverty, lack of opportunity, aggressive policing, those are real forces in his life and community. He didn't invent the concept of police overreach or systemic injustice.
He just manipulated his personal story within that context.
You could argue that, yeah. He leveraged the existing legitimate grievances of the community, but applied a false narrative to his own specific trauma for career advantage.
So his career kind of embodies this core tension within hip-hop itself.
I think so. That constant pull between being an authentic voice for a marginalized experience, using something like the 2006 conviction as proof, and the commercial pressures that reward the most dramatic, most compelling stories, even if they're not entirely factual.
It's not a simple good guy, bad guy story, then.
Not at all. It's way more complex. It's a case study, really, in how identity gets built, packaged, and sold today. He used both undeniable legal facts and admitted fiction to stay relevant for years.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with a really challenging final thought to chew on.
Go for it.
Okay, so if an artist builds significant credibility from surviving something undeniably real and traumatic, like getting shot in the head,
Hmm.
but then years later admits they lied about the most crucial detail, who pulled the trigger specifically to boost their image and career, does that lie cancel out the genuine trauma?
Or does it just starkly illustrate the kind of brutal calculations the industry itself encourages? What does authenticity even mean when the narrative becomes the primary product?
A question that really gets to the heart of it all in today's world, doesn't
Yeah.
it?